Fala galera, tudo bem? Vocês estão na Agostinho's Music. Antes de começar a nossa entrevista, já começa aí curtindo, compartilhando, se inscrevendo no canal, no Instagram e no YouTube.
Galera, hoje temos a honra de receber um guitarrista lendário, um verdadeiro mestre das 6 cordas, que tocou com ícones do rock and roll como Dire Straits, Eric Clapton. Estamos falando de Phil Palmer. Fica comigo!
Hi, Eraldo. In response to your questions, there's quite a lot of questions, but I'll have a go.
Phil, você é um guitarrista lendário, com participações incríveis. Como começou na jornada da guitarra?
I was 5 years old. I started playing the ukulele, and I was inspired by my uncles who were in a band called the Kinks back in the early 60s. And so I watched them go up and down the motorway in their van and play gigs, and I got hooked. So that's what started me off anyway.
Phil, quais guitarristas mais influenciaram seu estilo no início?
I suppose, like many others, including Mark, Knopfler, etc., one of the great guitar players from that period was Chet Atkins. And he was a finger picker, and that's what inspired me to become a finger picker, and I think also Mark. Also, I suppose Hank Marvin from the Shadows, the Stratocaster, a beautiful thing, the Stratocaster. And I really enjoyed those early days of learning how to play and the challenges that were there.
Você teve formação ou é autodidata?
I didn't have any formal training. It was purely all done by ear and determination, basically. I think along with a lot of other guitarists from that period, that's what we relied on. We had some competition. I think guitarists are competitive in that respect. And we learned from playing with other guitar players, and we get influenced by people like Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and all the others. But my influence was definitely country, and I remember listening to a guy called Roy Buchanan, who played a very early Telecaster. And I learned by just listening to the records. I mean, we didn't have video, of course, and the only way to visually see was to go to a concert, which I did as soon as I was able to when I was about 16 or 17. And I remember going to see Jimi Hendrix at the Royal Albert Hall in London, which was a big moment for me. And I didn't really understand how he was doing what he was doing, but it was mind-boggling and very. I was in the Albert Hall. That also was there was Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and pretty much every other guitar player from London, watching this alien, teach us all how to play guitar.
Phil, você é um dos músicos mais requisitados de todos os tempos. Qual foi seu trabalho mais desafiador?
Yes, I was. Not anymore because sessions don't really exist anymore. But yes, during the 70s and 80s, that's what I did for a living. And it's great grounding for a young player because you often expected to have a go at whatever they throw at you. You never know what it is. Of course, you walk into a room full of strangers and they say, can you play a solo for us in the style of, say, Jimi Hendrix? And you get good at doing your best and being flexible. That's the important thing, and confident. And it's interesting what happens after, sort of 15, 20 years of doing sessions and being asked to be someone else. Eventually, someone comes along and asks you to be you, which is a good moment. So that's what happened during all those years of sessions. I worked with some great people and some not so great people, and did some sessions which I shouldn't have done. But after that moment of recognition, you start to become able to choose what you do. And that's also a great moment.
It's a beautiful island. Thank you all for coming.
Como foi trabalhar com artistas marcantes, como Eric Clapton, Paul McCartney, Tina Turner, Dire Straits? Algum momento marcante?
Working with so many great artists, yeah. Paul McCartney, it was an astounding moment. Again, actually, it was at the Albert Hall, amongst a star-studded bunch of people. I remember playing acoustic guitar on Hey Jude with Paul McCartney singing, which was an amazing moment. And Eric Clapton was on the stage, and I think Sting was on the stage. Who else was there? Probably Phil Collins was on the drums. It was a great night, and it was called the Concert for Montserrat, which was organised by the Beatles producer. And it was an enjoyable. It's online, you can see it.
Phil, que gravação você acha que representa o seu estilo como guitarrista?
During the early 80s, I was playing on all kinds of albums, and I suddenly found myself in a room with a very successful Italian artist called Lucio Battisti, and I played some tracks on his album. One notable track became a very successful Italian hit during the early 80s, called Con il Nastro Rosa. And there's a solo on that which I had an hour in the studio with the producer, whose name was Jeff Wesley, and he said, just play, and we'll take the best bits and we'll use what we need. In fact, they used 2 minutes of my guitar solo, and it exists to this day on a single, and it became one of the most important songs in Italian musical history. So that probably represents my early contribution to sessions.
E como surgiu a oportunidade de tocar com Dire Straits?
It was a long process. I mean, just prior to working with Mark Knopfler, I was working with Eric Clapton, which was also a long process to get there. So it's a gentle curve how you become involved in these enormous artists. But yeah, I was on the road with Clapton for a couple of years in a great band with Steve Ferroni and Nathan East and Ray Cooper and Greg Fillinganes, and just superb band. And we were playing at a big festival in England called Knebworth Festival. I think it was 91. And the idea was born that Mark Knopfler and John Ilsley and I think Alan Clark would come and join the Eric Clapton band on stage at Knebworth. And that was the first time I met Mark, and we did a set together, amalgamation of both bands, and I seemed to get on okay with Mark, and he called me soon afterwards and said, "Listen, I'm putting some tracks together for the next Dire Straits album. Can you pop in?" And I did, and played on a few bits and pieces with him.
Mark Knopfler, em uma entrevista, disse que o único álbum que ele consegue ouvir do Dire Straits é o On Every Streets. O que você acha disso?
Mark, yeah, I think it was Mark's favourite album. That was called On Every Street, and it was the last proper Dire Straits album, which we did in, I think it was late 90, early 91, something like that. And soon after that, we went on tour for 2 years. We're on Every Street tour. It was an amazing experience, and I got on very well with Mark, and made some great friends. The friends which I still have. Dire Straits' legacy is what's left of Dire Straits, including Alan Clark and Danny Cummings, me, and Mel Collins, who played on some early Dire Straits albums. And we're enjoying it. It's really doing well. Wherever we go in the world, everybody knows Dire Straits music, and everybody sings along to the hits, etc., which is lovely. We just been to India, and the same thing happened there. I mean, full venues, and everybody knows the words and sings along. It's great fun.
Como você adaptou o seu estilo para se encaixar no Dire Straits?
I didn't have to. Actually, I was already playing that sort of way. I think that's one of the reasons Mark wanted me in the band, is that I could play similar to the way he plays, but not as good, actually. But I think he needed someone in the band. He'd put an album together with more than one guitar part on it, and him playing more than one guitar part. So there was a lot of opportunity for me to contribute to that process.
Você pode compartilhar alguma história de bastidor da turnê On Every Streets?
There was, 2 years of that tour. There were many behind-the-scenes stories. Some quite boring. There's a lot of travelling. We did 170 something shows over the space of 2 years. It becomes your life. You're in a bubble, travelling around the world like that. So and when it ends, which it did after 2 years, it's quite a shock, and it takes you a while to get back into the swing of things again. But after a while, you get used to each other's company, and little things start to become issues which really shouldn't. And there was an amazing catering company that we were on the road with. I think it was in Canada. And one night, the schedule of the day would be, okay, arrive, go to the sound check, sort of 2 in the afternoon, something like that, 2 or 3. Get everything ready to do the show, and then catering would happen at the venue, always at the venue backstage. And one day in Canada, the caterers had discovered a local Marks and Spencer's, which is a famous English store, which sold splendid sausages. And they decided that they were going to make sausages for dinner. And Mark, I think John as well, both decided that they didn't want to eat before the shows, and they would eat after the show. So both their plates were put on under foil and reserved. And when Mark went on the stage, there was 3 sausages on the plate, and when he came back, there were only 2. And he wanted to know who had stolen his sausage, and it became a very important issue. which it shouldn't have really, but it did. That's a funny story, and we laugh about it still.
Quais guitarras você utilizou ao longo da sua carreira e qual o seu setup atual?
I had, until last year, a really wonderful Fender Nocaster, which was the early version of a Telecaster. And that was my main guitar right through all my session years, and until I started working with Eric, and then I started to get supplied with beautiful Stratocasters, which I still use. So Eric Clapton Stratocasters with the lace sensors pickups. Maple neck, always maple neck. I got 4 of them. A green one, which is quite famous from the Dire Straits tour. A red one, which I used with Eric Clapton. A black one, which I use now, and a metal grey colour thing, which kind of lives in London at the moment.
Como foi tocar com Eric Clapton e Mark Knopfler juntos no Knebworth?
Together at Knebworth, that was a stressful moment actually, because Eric had broken a string in a song called, I can't remember the song, in a song, and he had to change guitar, so he gave me the solo on that particular song. Before You Accuse Me, it's called. And he said, "Take it, Phil," and I took it, and I was wailing away on the solo of this song, and I looked to my right and I saw Eric and Mark together watching me. So that was a slightly stressful moment, although I think I got away with it, and that's what you do when, after many, many years of experience, you just do what you can and hope for the best.
Como você desenvolveu sua identidade sonora?
Probably by accident, but I tend to use a compressor, and I carry a compressor with me, just a little Boss compressor. I've got one here somewhere, hang on. This guy. I've been using that for years, because you never know what, unless you're on a full-blown tour like Dire Straits or like Eric Clapton, you take your own back line, but not always get that opportunity. So I carry that little compressor because if I'm confronted with an amp that I don't like, or it's not what I'm used to having. I mean, I'm used to having a nice valve amplifier. Using the compressor will make the whatever amp it is a bit more friendly, and that's why I use it. So I guess the compressor, if you look back over my career, would be with some compression, and that's probably how I developed.
Você prefere tocar com palheta ou com os dedos, ou ambos?
I prefer to play with my fingers, and pretty much the only time I use a plectrum is if I'm strumming an acoustic or something like that, but not even that always. So yeah, fingers for me is you hear the fingers, you don't hear a plectrum. Whatever you do with a plectrum, it always sounds like you're using a plectrum. So fingers for me is very much more expressive and much more subtle than using a plectrum. So that's why I use my fingers.
Como você cria seus solos? Você pensa mais em melodia, em técnica?
It's melody, really. I'm not a fan of. I don't practice scales because I think that when you practice scales all the time and you're given an opportunity to express yourself, you'll probably play a scale. So I look for the melody inside whatever I'm given. You know, if I have a series of chords, I'll try and find common notes as my favorite, and bending notes and semitone bends to make things work from one chord to another. So basically it's about melody.
Whatever I want, and baby, I want you. Yeah, you give me something I need.
Giving way in the night. His hand is weakened with the moment of truth. His scabbards falter.
Phil, como foi a experiência de tocar no Strat Pack com David Gilmour, Paul Rodgers e Joe Walsh?
Strat Pack was great fun. I was the musical director on that, so I was given the job of talking to the artists and discussing what songs to play and how to play them, etc., etc., and choosing the members of the band, which I did too, because it was Pino Palladino, Wicks Wickens from McCartney's band, and who was on drums? Ian Thomas, who is one of the great English session players, plays with Mark most of the time, and still. David Gilmour was a gentleman and a lovely guy. Paul Rodgers sang his ass off, and I loved working with Joe Walsh. I've been a fan of Joe Walsh right from the 70s, because he was in a band called the James Gang, which was an important part of my musical instruction. So I love Joe Walsh, he's a great guy.
Phil, nos fale sobre o seu projeto Dire Straits Legacy.
Yep, I think I did already. It was an experiment which we tried 10 years ago now, and it's gradually taken off. I mean, people never get tired of Dire Straits music, I'm happy to say. The songs are amazing. The dynamics are really thoughtful. The songs are deep and they touch people. People relate to the songs, I think, from their youth. And so songs like Romeo and Juliet, you see people weeping, couples weeping in the audience, which is amazing. And the other one that affects people a lot is Telegraph Road, which is a 12-minute journey, musical journey. It's like a movie, and I think it's just one of the little bits of genius that Mark Knopfler came out with.
O que você acha do público brasileiro?
I think this is the 5th time we've been back to Brazil now in the last 4 or 5 years, and the reason we keep coming back is that they love it. We love being there. They're great people, Brazilians. I love the Brazilians. I love the Brazilian culture. I love Brazilian music. And the Brazilian weather, the beaches are great. It's a great place to be, and it's a great place to see. We do a lot of our travelling around Brazil in a fantastic bus with fantastic beds in it, so you can sleep on long journeys and stuff. But that's a great way to see Brazil. Driving through the rainforest and stuff like that is just awesome. So yeah, we love it, and we love the audiences.
O Dire Straits Legacy toca Down the Waterline, música que o Mark Knopfler toca há anos. Vocês pretendem tocar mais músicas desse período?
We try to restrict it to songs that people really know, I think for obvious reasons. And that's interesting because, for example, in Brazil, one of the big Dire Straits hits in Brazil is not a song that made much difference anywhere else, and it's called Dun 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 Dun. What's it called? Hang on. That one. I still can't remember the title, but you know what it is. And it was a big hit in Brazil. So we would definitely do that one. And we would definitely, you have to play Money for Nothing, you have to play Songs of Swing, you have to play Telegraph Road because we like it. We have to play Private Investigations because we love it. And you know, I never get tired of playing them. We all love to play them. My cats just come to say hello. Hello.
Pode nos falar sobre os shows no Brasil em maio?
It's our promoter. As I think this time he's put us in some unusual places we haven't been before. So I don't know much about them at the moment, except that it's going to be a magical mystery tour.
Phil, poderia deixar uma mensagem para a família Agostinho's Music e para os iniciantes na guitarra?
Agostinho's Music family, hello. Beginners on the instrument, beginners. Try to be yourself. Try not to take too much influence from other guitar players, although it's very easy on the internet these days to take ideas from other people. But I mean, we're all influenced, but try not to be influenced by one person in particular. Try to create yourself. Try to do something that nobody else is doing. It's pretty difficult, but you probably do it. So yeah, hello to Agostinho's Music family. I don't know who you are, but I hope to see you on the road. All right, thanks for those, and I hope to see you in Brazil. Phil Palmer. See you soon.